Live from Orlando, Florida, it's theCUBE. Covering ServiceNow Knowledge17. Brought to you by ServiceNow.
We're back in Orlando. I'm Dave Vellante with Jeff Frick. Kerri Cullity is here. She's the Advisory Managing Director of Healthcare Solutions for KPMG. Kerri, good to see you.
Good to see you.
And you're in Boston, center of a lot of healthcare action going on in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of your specialty. So give us the update, tell us about your role and the practice inside of KPMG.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I work at KPMG as a Managing Director in Healthcare Solutions. I lead up our enterprise asset management offering, our solution that healthcare organizations are now starting to actually take a look at. It's, with all the mergers and acquisitions that have occurred in healthcare today, it's a good place for cost savings. And so we're seeing a lot of CFOs and other executive leadership really starting to take a look at their enterprise asset management strategy.
So how do you organize enterprise assets in healthcare? Right? Hospitals are giant places, they got a ton of assets from expensive MRI machines to lots of rubber gloves and everything in between.
Yeah, so it's a big task. I mean, it's something that organizations haven't thought about. So, all these organizations are being asked to cut costs, and it's a really good place to start because as you said, there's some really high ticketed priced items such as MRI machines, IV pumps, and also, so they look at it from a clinical perspective, which is really clinical engineering, and they also look at it from a facilities perspective, which is the safety of not only your patients, but also your customers as well. So they're really looking at it two different categories from a clinical and a facilities perspective.
So how does KPMG help these organizations? Maybe you could describe how they engage with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that KPMG does is we come in and actually take a look at what their systems look like today, look at their current state, and look at where their future state wants to be. So really doing an assessment of their workflows, processes, people, and technology, and help them really put a roadmap in place to be successful in getting an enterprise management, enterprise strategy in place.
So when you do an assessment like that, is it it's a big data collection exercise, you got to get the right constituents in the room, you heard all the cats. Can you describe that and some of the challenges
absolutely.
there?
So some of the challenges is that they have multiple disparate systems across the organization. So they could have 10 legacy systems that are not cloud-based, that aren't online, everything's very manually driven. So we go in and we conduct business analysis workflows with their certain teams. We start either in facilities or clinical, depending upon where their biggest pain point is. And then we actually gather all that data and information and understand where they're not in sync with each other, because getting all of your folks at the same time, at the right time, thinking how do we standardize and consolidate across the organization is probably one of the biggest challenges that they have today.
Now, how granular do you get in an assessment like that? I mean,
it can be very granular. Sometimes we actually do physical inventory. So from a clinical perspective, especially if they had gone through mergers and acquisitions, they could have 14 different facilities with 14 different pieces of equipment in it. So we can get down to the granular level of actually doing physical inventory accounts, because a lot of times these leadership doesn't even know. They could have the same piece of equipment in 14 different places and they're paying duplicate maintenance contracts, which is really comes down to the vendor management aspect of it. So we can go as granular as the physical inventory all the way up to the putting together the entire strategy around the people, process, and technology.
So how does ServiceNow fit?
So ServiceNow, that's actually a great question. One of the things that organizations that have made the investment in ServiceNow is typically, especially in the healthcare setting, has made it in the IT space. And so this really allows them to leverage that investment and bring it out into other parts of their business, such as the clinical engineering, the facilities, and really you start to see that standardized and consolidated platform across the organization.
So you work with your colleagues who have, there's obviously a ServiceNow practice, right? And then you sort of hunt within those guys that have adopted, say for instance, ITSM, and then say, okay, hey, look what else we can do for you. Is that right?
So we're working with a lot of the vendors that actually have built the enterprise asset management software. ServiceNow actually has an enterprise asset management solution as well. They partner with other organizations that look at it from a workflow, a whole entire work life cycle aspect of it. So we work very closely with our ServiceNow team, because a lot of these organizations have built their ServiceNow platform, and being able to take that and bring it into other parts of the business is critical for success.
So KPMG obviously is independent, you're agnostic to technology, you're not You're not supposed to play favorites, but like John Donahoe said yesterday in his keynote, my daughter's my favorite. That
was classic.
It was good. So how do you, now at the same time, of course, you know certain technologies fit a particular use case, they have their strategic fit. So where is the ServiceNow strategic fit?
Yeah, so ServiceNow is in a lot of healthcare organizations today. When cloud became the big thing, they are already in a lot of our customers. So what we do is we actually work with our ServiceNow counterparts, both from a ServiceNow perspective and also from a KPMG ServiceNow team, and understand what those roadmaps look and how do they continue to mature the ServiceNow platform. I would say 99% of the time, ServiceNow is the platform of choice because it's so easy to use. I'm sure you've heard that quite a bit. Yeah. And they can customize it to make it fit for them. So a lot of times because of our partnership with ServiceNow, it just is a good fit for both the client and for us and for ServiceNow.
So are you managing a global organization? Or
so I manage in the US right now.
Okay.
We have spoken to other large healthcare organizations. So what's happening now is that we're seeing our clients are really starting to look at, okay, how do we look at our enterprise asset management from a physical, contractual, help us make better enterprise-wide business decisions. And now we're actually starting to see that go into not only the healthcare providers, but also into the clients that actually support them as well. So we've worked with some large, in Germany, we were talking to them about how they can kind of start to play in this whole space as well.
So just shifting gears a little bit, healthcare always gets knocked for being laggards on technology. But we've had a couple people on the show the last couple of days that are involved in healthcare. I'm just kind of curious your perspective. Is that a legitimate knock? Is that changing? If it is, and if it is changing, kind of where do you see the opportunities for them to catch up, get ahead? Because it's such a big industry, it's such a big spend, so much facilities.
I think we're seeing it shift a little bit. I think they have been a little bit slow as far as technology goes because there's been so many competing projects such as regulatory issues, the whole, now we're in the repeal and replace, so everyone's trying to figure out exactly what that means for them as an organization. We do see that shifting because it's becoming a very customer focused, the customer's driving, whether it be the customer or the patient, they're driving a lot of these organizations to start saying, we need technology because it's a very competitive market, as you said, and we need them to stay within our organization, or they're going to go elsewhere for the care. And so we're actually seeing really us as consumers of healthcare really pushing them in that direction that they need to start looking at technology more seriously.
So what's the vision? Where do you take this, midterm, long term?
Yeah, I think the vision is that one first is it gives them an opportunity, as we said, to leverage the investment that they've made in their current technology, such as ServiceNow, to bring it into other parts of their business. It also allows them to start really putting, the challenges that they have and to make enterprise-wide business decisions as they move forward. I think you'll see them starting to look at not only just from a facilities and clinical perspective, I think you'll start to see that really branch out into the entire continuum of care. Mm.
How about this show? I know you're kind of doing it in and out, but have you had a chance to walk around, check out your booth?
It's been amazing. It's been great. It's amazing the amount of partners that ServiceNow has in their ecosystem, and I've learned a great deal. The keynotes have been fantastic, so I'm looking forward to see what they do next year. I know that last year it was 12,000, and this year it's up to 15,000. So it's quite a growth.
Back to Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Bigger hallway. All right, Kerri, thanks very much for coming to theCUBE. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, keep it right there, buddy. Jeff and I will be back with our next guest right after this short break.